if we look at this thing we call the big adventure, one of the things about this channel and this community, we're really good at catching waves, aren't we? Really good at catching waves. And if you think about the waves that we've caught over the last couple of decades as an industry, they're substantial, aren't they? I mean, we've done this over and over again. I think of DSL. Who here used to sell DSL loops? Anybody? Yeah? I worked for a company called New Edge Networks. I was there when we turned up the 100th DSL customer, and which was a really big deal. By the way, we had more employees than we did customers. And that loop cost about $60, and we made about 4 cents on it, and it was an amazing business model, right? But every loop that we added like $3 million in valuation to the business. It was a great time. It was a great time to be alive. But we move off from DSL to T1s to fiber, from frame to MPLS to SD-WAN, right? This all sounds familiar. You guys have recreated yourself over and over again through these transitions, right? POTS, which Garrett will tell you is still very much alive, right, Steve? Where are you at? There he is. But we've gone from there to PRI to SIP trunking, from Prim to cloud to SaaS. These are all transitions that we've made where we've had to learn. We've had to learn new vocabularies, new approaches, new selling methodologies, right? What's next? What's next? Guys, this is a massive wave that we're catching right now. It's a massive wave around customer experience. But I want to get a bit more granular than that, because most of us have reinvented ourselves multiple times throughout our careers, and yes, it's time to do it again. The next big wave is around automation. If you look at the acceleration of automation, within 2 to 3 years, your customers will have fully embraced automation. Will have fully embraced it. You'll learn about that today. This is a great quote. We actually used this in last year's CX Lift. It's out of DataTrack, and it says, "We expect continued growth in automating roles, both to take the place of workers that companies cannot find and to offset rising wage pressures. This will be an important trend to watch, as it will shape labor markets over the long term, given that automation, once installed, is simply never reversed." There's a window here. There's a window here. And we have to move quickly to take advantage of this. The age of automation. We all know Moore's Law, right? Moore's Law suggests that every year, every 14 months, compute power doubles every 14 months. And since the 70s, this has proven true, right? Get this. Aberdeen University did a study where they figured out that AI performance is actually doubling every 6 months. Every 6 months. The innovation, the pace of innovation around automation and artificial intelligence and machine learning is off the charts right now. The stuff that we were doing just 12 months ago is already old school, right? It's accelerating. The intelligence around the platforms that you're going to see today and how they've built these and how they're getting continuously smarter and smarter every day. And the more load we put on them, the smarter those platforms get. That's what's happening around automation and artificial intelligence. And if your AI strategy as a company is even just a couple years old, you're already falling behind. You're already falling behind. So I want you to be thinking about customers in your mind, right, that you have these amazing trusted relationships with. And how are they tackling this acceleration around this technology? Because if they're not, they too are falling behind. Am I right? They have to get caught up, and you can help them get there. So there's a ton of buzzwords. You're going to hear a bunch of them over the next week, right? We got not week, don't be alarmed. I meant 3 days, so we're not keeping you here all week. But AI, machine learning, natural language understanding versus natural language processing, automatic speech recognition. These are all just a sampling of a bunch of new terms that you're learning and hearing all about. So what? What do they matter, right? How do you sort through what's real and what's hype? Like what we're really good at, guys, and you've heard me say countless times over the years, it's about focusing on the business outcomes. It's about focusing on the business outcomes. And if you do that, you're answering the most important question for your customer, which is, so what? Why should I care about this? Why is this important to me? Why is this important to my business, right? And if I don't know that, you better be able to teach me that. And if you can't teach me that, I ain't buying what you're selling. Am I right? That's what we have to get really, really good at challenging our customers with new ways of thinking, new approaches to how they leverage technology to drive business outcomes. So this is a fascinating time that we're in. A year ago, what was the major theme? For those who were at CX Lift, what was the major theme just 12 months ago when I was up here talking? Who remembers? Staffing, talent shortage. You couldn't find people, right? You couldn't find people. By the way, for companies that are trying to hire, that's still a problem. That's still a problem, right? But guys, there's another issue that is starting to become front and center, right? A host of tech companies announced hiring freezes and job cuts. The layoff spree in Silicon Valley spells the end of an era for big tech. That's kind of hyperbole. How many times we've seen that headline, right? I don't know if this technology thing is actually going to stick. Most CFOs geared up to freeze hiring. These are companies that are saying, not only can, just 6 months ago we couldn't hire people if we wanted to, but now we can't hire people because we're not allowed to. This is a double dip problem, guys. It's a double dip problem. If you look here, if that's the labor need over the next few years, that's the labor need. That's where companies need to be able to staff to deliver on their brand promises, right? Over the last couple of years, that has actually been the reality. And that gap between where I need to be and where I actually am because I can't hire people has been really, really significant. It's hands down been the number one pain point of every one of the customers that we talk to. But now you add in an impending recession, and you add in companies that are laying off significant parts of their workforce, that are saying to CX leaders, sorry, you got to do more with less, right? You got to do more with less. And it's presenting huge challenges. Guys, that's the new labor gap. And it's a double dip problem, right? Either I can't find people, even if I could hire them, I can't find them. And then now, even worse, you're being told you can't fill those jobs. So it's created a massive issue. What does that mean for us, right? What does that mean for us? If we look at a recession that most experts believe is around the corner, maybe not. We don't know the severity of what it's going to be. In our channel, we've all been through a few of those cycles, am I right? We've all been through those. Who here is frightened in the channel about a recession? Nobody? Nobody? Yeah, you're damn right. Why? Because there's so much that gives us advantage to, so much that we're able to capitalize on during a recession. Think of the issues, the ramifications around a recession of what it creates for your customers, right? Added pressure on staffing that we just talked about. The importance of frictionless customer experience is more important than ever. It's more important than ever. Why? Because growth is going to be harder to come by. It's going to be harder to come by. And if you, in fact, have a smaller pool of customers that are engaging with you than you did a year or two ago, right? You better be able to treat those customers like gold. You have to treat them like gold. So you have to start creating frictionless experiences for them. You got to increase your conversion rate. In fact, guys, you can't go backwards, right? If you already know that X% of people hitting your website and consuming your content and then converting ultimately to a customer, a loyal customer long term, right? Well, that conversion rate can't take a step back. In fact, if it's a smaller pool, I have to increase my conversion rate. Am I right? Just to keep pace with the growth that I've had, I have to increase my conversion rate. How do I do that? How do I do that when I can't hire people, right? Agent effectiveness is more important than ever. It's more important than ever. If fewer interactions are getting to my live agents, my agents have got to be better, smarter, faster about solving problems and answering questions and converting customers. They have to be. How do we empower agents to do their jobs more effectively? And then consumers will be much more discretionary with their dollar. Are you that way? Are you that way? Do you redirect your dollar as a consumer to companies that give you a great personal experience? We all do. We all do. And by the way, if it's a really crappy experience, you're taking your dollar elsewhere. And in recessionary times and inflationary times, right, Consumers are more protective of that dollar than ever before. And lastly, your ROI, guys, has to be defensible. It has to be. If you can't prove the hard dollar financial justification to your customer for the solution that you're proposing, again, they ain't buying what you're selling. And in fact, if you can prove a really aggressive ROI, then you actually have solutions that can jump the budget cycle, that can actually accelerate adoption with customers when they say, I'm trying to solve for all these problems, you're bringing a technology to me that can drive cost out of my business or can increase revenues, and if you can prove that to them, you're gonna start winning big. So the silver lining is a real thing, guys. There's definitely a silver lining. Are we recession-proof in this channel? Are we? What do you think? Yes? Resistant, maybe that's a better word, yeah? Guys, it's interesting. Check this out. In the face of all those doom and gloom stats, right? Gartner says that enterprise IT spending will reach $4.6 trillion in 2023. That's over a 5% increase over 22. Here's another one from Gartner. CEOs and CFOs have no intention of cutting tech spending. CIOs are still wearing their halo from 2020. Do you know what we mean by that? What he means by that? That's where CIOs in 2020, when businesses said, send all your people home, right, overnight, and they had to figure out how to like adjust to the new normal, right? CIOs did that, and they performed at a really high level in the face of massive, massive challenges. Think about the heroic effort that took for IT organizations and customer experience organizations to make that pivot. They're still wearing that halo from 2020, and CEOs are going back to the people who gave them the last set of solutions. CEOs are going back to the people that gave them the last set of solutions. That's all y'all, right? Check this out. Matt Asher from CIO Dive. The last several years have taught companies that cloud migration, data analytics, artificial intelligence, these are the bridge to optimization and efficiency gains and cost savings. Most are willing to continue their modernization journey, not just in spite of current realities, but because of them. Because of them. That's a really important distinction here, guys. Chris Checksfield says, I love recessionary times in this channel as it creates a cost-cutting culture and aggressive discussions, right? One of our biggest partners. Guys, there is an opportunity here to capitalize on what the world is fearful of. And we bring solutions that help those customers fight through recessionary challenges that are very, very real. Because they're being told, I gotta do more with less. I gotta do more with less. It's the classic situation where the CFO comes out of a board meeting and goes into the CX leader's office and says, I've got some good news and bad news, right? Here are the big KPIs for this next year. We need you to increase NPS from our current 48 to 65. It's a big, big increase, but you got to do it. I want our CSAT scores. The board wants our CSAT scores at 92%. You got to do it. And oh, by the way, we have to cut your budget by 30%. So God bless. I'm going to go get some lunch. You can figure it out. All right. That's what CX leaders and IT leaders are being tasked with every single day. They got to do more with less. How are they doing? They're worried. They're worried. More with less. Guys, this quote here from CFO Dives suggests that CIOs and CTOs are worried and burned out. They've been through a hell of a couple of years. And now to double down on that, they're being told you got to do more with less. That mandate this time comes in an era of nasty inflation that continues to drive up prices for every bit of technology and service at the same time that every employee's cost of living is skyrocketing. This is the challenge that is facing brands. And there's a paradox here. Which is fascinating to me. This push where I need to automate everything, but I need to delight customers. I need to reduce human interaction, but I need to personalize experiences, right? I need to embrace self-service, but I need to remove friction. I need to decrease expense at all costs. And oh, by the way, I need to grow revenue, right? This is the paradox around customer experience, guys. This is the challenge that your customers are losing sleep over. They're being told they have to get all this done on the left and still get all this done on the right, all at the same time. All at the same time. And it's interesting as we see some brands that have attempted this, right? That have already been investing ahead of the curve and trying to figure this thing out. There's a pendulum that we see in the world of customer experience. This idea that you deflect at all costs, right? Deflect calls and live interactions at all costs. Most companies have actually embraced the idea of call avoidance to their detriment. To their detriment. I once had a CX leader at a company tell me, we make money when our phone doesn't ring, right? We make money when our phone doesn't ring. How many of your customers or how many brands as a consumer that you interface with make it darn near impossible to even find a phone number to call? Am I right? Right? You spend like minutes and minutes. I got to talk to somebody. This isn't working for me. I put in my question into a chat that brought back from this really amazing knowledge base 17 articles for me to read to figure out on my own how the heck I solved my problem. I don't want to do that. I want an answer now. Now I want an answer, right? My SLA is now. I made that up. That's mine. Did you know that? No. Is that too far? Was that too far? All right, I apologize. That's right. I absolutely embrace Gerhardt's SLA of now. Consumers embrace that. They expect answers now. They expect information now, right? We got to be able to deliver on that. So this is the other side of the pendulum. This is where we need to get back to. And this is what technology is enabling us to do. Don't hide. Don't hide from your customers, right? Don't hide from them. Embrace all the channels that they want to use to communicate with you. All the channels. Embrace all the channels that partners want to communicate with you on. Embrace all the channels. Meet them where they're at, right? Where are they? Voice, chat, SMS, email, social. Customers are all over the place wanting to use whatever channel they want to use to reach you as a brand. Don't hide from that. Embrace that, right? Embrace that. This idea of mobile first, let's talk a little bit more about that. Mobile first. What does that really mean? What does that really mean? Because it's dominating everything that we do now as consumers, as business leaders, as channel partners, right? As trusted advisors. It dominates everything. Here's an interesting stat. Over 204 billion app downloads a year. 204 billion. Be fine, we won't do this because it'd take too long. But think of who here has more than 100 apps on their phone? Who here is ashamed to admit that, not raising their hand, right? Right? We have countless apps. Everything we do, we're supposed to download a new app. There's this thing called app fatigue. I don't know if you've been hearing about this, but this idea of downloading apps continuously to create new experiences, there's a different trend called microsites. When you look at companies like Journey or AirKit, other people in our portfolio that are leveraging the idea of pushing out a secure message to somebody's cell phone, I click on that link and up pops via the browser on the phone a media-rich, frictionless experience to engage, right? Those experiences are being built all the time, and there's zero app download. That's a really important trend right now that we love to see. But at the same time, we sometimes forget that this is still a phone, right? This is still a phone. And so many times, customers simply want to pick up the phone and call us. But it's also an omni-channel communication tool. Am I right? I can chat through here. I can SMS through here. I can go to somebody's website. I can go through digital journeys like I just described. I have to understand how I create that for my customers. Guys, the average open rate of an SMS message is 94%. 94%. If your customers aren't embracing a mobile-first strategy, if they're not sending out SMS messages to communicate with their customers, they're way behind. They're way behind. It's such an incredibly powerful tool. And then check this out. By 2025, in just a few years from now, 72% of global internet users will access the web solely from their mobile device. Not partially. Not I use my computer here and sometimes I use this. 100% of their usage to 72% of consumers will be through this. Are your brands ready for that? Are they ready for that? I want to give you a sense of this. Many of you have seen what we call the systems view of the CX journey. And you're going to get a lot more around our methodology tomorrow morning as we'll go into that a lot more deeper for you, but more deeper, that's good. But I want to give you a different perspective on the CX journey from a solutions perspective. And this will start to connect the dots for you with even the suppliers that are in the room. I start with customers on the left that might have a variety of tools, a variety of channels that they're using to communicate with, right? And the first place where that might hit is technology around natural language understanding, where I can leverage natural language understanding to have a two-way conversation with that caller or that texter or whatever, and be able to not just direct them to the live person that they want to talk to, but actually resolve their problem, right? When we have companies in the room like Replicant and we have companies like Flip that are doing amazing things around two-way natural language understanding, natural conversations that bots can have that can do full-blown problem resolution. Where's my order, right? Things like that. Change my billing, update my address. All the common mundane things that happen in volume every single day is now being automated by really smart platforms that get smarter over time. Things like automation, where the same thing, where we're automating the whole experience on the front end before they ever get to a live body. You're going to learn a lot from Link today and tomorrow that are doing some amazing things, especially in retail, where they're automating the entire customer experience on the front end using multiple channels. Branded caller ID. How cool is that, right? Guys, when we get an inbound phone call on a cell phone and I don't recognize the number, what do I do with it? Yeah, I don't answer that call. Are you kidding? I mean, every single time I answer that call, it's a horrible error. 100% of the time, I regret picking up that call, right? So I don't do that anymore. Imagine now my bank calls me and I don't recognize the number, I don't pick up the call, right? But if my bank calls me and it's my bank's brand on the inbound caller ID, am I picking up that call? Every time, right? Every time. I'm in the middle of refinancing a mortgage. I want to make sure that when my mortgage guy calls me, I know it's my mortgage guy. Outbound caller ID is blowing up right now around branding that experience. Haya's in the room that does exactly that. And then we get into things like authentication. Again, leveraging this device. You're going to see some things that Journey's doing that's amazing around imagine cutting like 60 seconds out of every single interaction with a customer because you're leveraging the intelligence of this device for authentication, right? Where, Frank, you call me and I know from your number who you are, and instead of saying, Frank, I'm going to ask you 17 questions about just so you prove who you are, I'm going to instead push a link to your phone, or it's going to automatically pop on your banking app or whatever you might have, and you're going to look at your phone, and boom, Frank, I know exactly who you are. You're fully authenticated in a matter of seconds, right? That's where authentication is going. It's doing on both sides of this as we look at even authenticating agents. Did you know there's a big problem right now in remote contact center work, where an agent will log in for their shift and then have somebody else do the job? Or maybe they'll log in for their shift and they'll simply stay logged in and never answer calls. How do we even know if those people are who they say they are, right? Journey's leveraging the same exact kind of technology to 100% validate that who's supposed to be taking those calls are the right people. We get into the plumbing of UCaaS and CCaaS, and then we go into agent assist. This is the whole part about how do we make our agents smarter? How do we make them smarter, right? I think of things like conversational AI. And I look at things like Excel that's in the room where they're going to show you through I want to say oncologist, but that's a different word. What is it? Ontologists. They have a whole team of people that are experts in language, that are listening to conversations and taking your best agent and turning all of your agents into your best agent. Guys, that's all using AI to make that move. You'll see some powerful, powerful examples of that. Automated decision tree. I look at Zingtree that's in the room, that's building no-code workflows for agents to be able to click a button that automates everything on the back end. Think of no-code robotic process automation. That's the category that's in. Agent performance, QA, QM, voice of the customer. Level AI is in the room, who does amazing stuff around ingesting 100% of the interactions across all channels, and then giving CX leaders visibility to the voice of their customer and automating quality and for all their agents, helping them get smarter and even telling them what to say next in live conversations. There's a new supplier in the room called AppEdge, which is all about orchestrating knowledge, where an agent is able to type in a few words, a question, a problem, something they're trying to figure out. And this engine is automatically pulling from all sorts of bases of knowledge. It might be Slack, it might be Teams, it might be email, it might be a knowledge base, it might be a CRM, it might be a ticketing system, and it's pulling all that together and providing real-time answers, dramatically cutting time out of live contact. Guys, it's massive. And then we look at CX orchestration, a company like Customer that is actually providing a single pane of glass to agents that integrates with all their back-end systems and integrates with all the digital channels on the front end, including voice as well, right? All that in a single experience for agents that is blowing people away and displacing things like Zendesk and Salesforce and those types of situations. Digital staffing. There's a company here called High Operator that is now taking, and you'll see this, they're taking this software platform that they've built around automation. It's AI-driven, and they're pairing that with humans in the loop in providing outsourced staffing for digital channels. And they're doing it at like a factor of 10 to 1, which means instead of a company having 30, 40 people dedicated to our digital channels, I'm able to push that off to somebody like High Operator that can do that for a fraction of those bodies, leveraging their own AI technology to do that. And then flexible staffing, our friends at ShiftSmart. Guys, the ability for you to ramp up agents in a matter of days, right? Or even in some situations, the day of, once that platform's in place, to leverage kind of gig workers to solve for this. It's the Uber of BPOs. We are closing a monster deal with them this week, right, El? This week, what? This week, good, all right. All right, $1 million a month in monthly recurring revenue, guys. That's how big these things can get, right? And so we're seeing huge success with that model. There's a whole bunch of people taking notice. A whole bunch of people taking notice. Tell me if you know any of these brands. Have you ever seen these brands in the channel? No? Probably not. Get ready. Get ready. These brands are building out initiatives around how do they play in the world of customer experience. How do they play in that world? Guys, it's creating some big urgency. These new entrants, companies like accounting firms are building out CX practices. Design firms, consultants, associations, VC-sponsored consortiums. There's lots of different entrants into this space that are all trying to claim this mantle of trusted advisor, right? Of trusted advisor. And you're like, well, that's what I do, right? Get off my porch, get off my lawn, right? That's what I do. Guys, we have to get ahead of this. We have to get ahead of this. And what you have are amazing trusted relationships, especially the partners in this room. Especially the partners in this room, right? I'll give you an interesting stat. If you take the 10,000 partners that are shared, the unique partners that are shared between Intelisys, Avant, and Telarus, what do you believe is the average monthly recurring revenue that an average partner across the 10,000 has today? What'd you say? 50K. 50K a month? Really? $35K. $35,000 a month is their monthly book. I say that's the very definition of a bad lifestyle business, right? That's the very definition. But the overwhelming majority of partners are that. This is a side hustle. This is a hobby. They're making their $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in commission, and that they're okay with that because maybe they got another job, right? Who knows? That's what the channel has always been made up of. Did you know that over half of the volume from this channel, from those 10,000 partners, over half of it is concentrated with 50 partners? If you look at our base of partners, the average monthly book for a partner in the CX Effect community, it goes up every single month. Last check, it was over 1.3 million. So for those that have been in the channel for a long time, that remember celebrating our first platinum partners at Intelisys, and what a big deal that was, right? Every freaking partner in our base is a platinum partner in essence. On average, our average partner is platinum, right? This is a very elite community. You guys can hold on to that mantle of trusted advisor, and you can beat these new entrants if you stay ahead of the curve. So where does that leave you? Automation we know is accelerating, right? We know that. Competition is going to increase. There's going to be more voices out there trying to get the attention of your customers, and naturally, as always, there will be winners and there will be losers, right? And we want to help you guys be on the winning side of history. So consider this. Your customers are facing a big question. How do I do more with less? How might you help your customers tackle that challenge? How do you leverage technology you're going to learn about over the next few days to enable them to do more with less? The channel has a massive opportunity. As CX solutions become essential in cutting costs, right, in growing revenue, which of your clients is ready to consider automation, to consider artificial intelligence, other CX technologies? You guys are already going through that process in your mind. You're already going through the Rolodex of customers that you have amazing relationships with, and you know which ones are more ready than others. And then lastly, how do you have to adjust to make this huge pivot? What do you have to do differently, right? I love the fact that a year ago, this room was dominated by principals of our biggest partners. And we still have a bunch of those here. That's awesome. But we also now have a huge influx of frontline salespeople that are out there fighting the battle day in, day out. And that's a really important thing. If you're the principal of your partnership, right, what are you doing to enable your salespeople? How are you preparing them for what they have to get really, really good at? What do you have to change in your approach? What do you have to stop doing? What do you have to start doing? Where do you have to start investing? Where do you have to, kind of leave behind and go forward? It's a big, big pivot. It's moving us away from becoming circuit slingers to business advisors, right? It's taking us away from pure IT focus to now having an enterprise-wide vision of what the customer requires. It's not just hitching my wagon to the one star in the company that I have an amazing relationship with, right? That's still incredibly important. But it's also demonstrating your value across the enterprise and being able to spread out in organizations. It's away from just being in the middle of technology procurement. Now you're in the middle of solutioning for customers, of designing solutions that drive the outcomes that they want. That is how you start and continue to build value with your customers.